What kind of Batman do you think the new Batman is gonna be? Before we begin, this video is sponsored by NordVPN, and in the description of this video below, you can see how you can get 4 months worth of free browsing by using discount code CHANNELPUP, so you can browse safer and more freely for less. What's crack-a-lackin' fellow home dogs, it's your old pal Channel Pup, and we got another reboot of Batman on the way, which means another incarnation of this character, who will be portrayed by Robert Pattinson in the 2021 Batman film, directed by Matt Reeves. We got a few tidbits regarding this film, but the real question on my mind is, what kind of a Batman are we going to see in this movie? It does appear that we're going in kind of a realistic and practical kind of a universe, but I want to know, who is this version of Batman? I mean, let's actually probably discuss this. If you want to just put down in the comments below what you hope to see from the character of this version of Batman, I'd be really interested to discuss this. I think currently Hollywood's kind of got a fixation with the very sort of troubled, very dark-hearted Batman. They like going about it as he's this very serious, very disillusioned guy with a lot of anger in him. We've had Christian Bale's Batman, who's kind of gone through several different stages of kind of emotional detachment and emotional devastation, with all that happened to his parents and then what happened with Rachel, and we've seen this guy kind of let out all of his ferocity in the form of Batman. Then with Ben Affleck, we kind of took that to the next level, you know. We've now got a Batman that's past the point of caring who lives and dies in his crusade anymore. A guy who's kind of lost touch with everything he originally stood for until he's reminded of it by Superman. But again, another very dark, very intense, very rage-filled Batman. It was more a redemption story for this Batman, and I think nowadays it's kind of the fashionable thing to kind of portray Batman as more of an anti-hero than a straight-up good-hearted civilian just trying to do some good. We've kind of gotten a taste of realism when it comes to Batman, and I think people seem to really enjoy the sort of pathology of the man who's still hung up about his dead parents and lets all that rage out on the criminals of Gotham. And I think that being as we got another realistic take on Batman, there's a chance we could be diving back into that world again. But there is a side to Batman that I haven't really seen properly explored in a live-action movie that I would really like to go into with Robert Pattinson's Batman. I don't know 100% if this is on the cards, because Robert Pattinson himself has kind of spoken out and said that his idea of Batman isn't really so much a hero. He's more of a sort of an unorthodox anti-hero that abides by his own set of principles. But for me, some of my favorite Batman moments are in Batman the Animated Series and the original Justice League animated series. Some of my favorite moments of that is when they showcase Batman's kindness. To most people, I think Batman is vengeance. He's the knight. He's Batman. He's the judge, the jury, the non-lethal executioner. And we've gotten that in spades in the live-action films, and I'm not saying those are incomplete by any stretch. I think Batman's got some, I dare say, perfect comic book movies. Batman 66, Batman 89, Batman Returns, The Dark Knight, Batman v Superman even. I love all of those films. Yes, even Justice League. And I understand fully what people get out of this. I understand people really love to see Batman pummeling some enemies, screaming in people's faces, being all stern and stoic as a very dignified superhero. There's a lot of layers, there's a lot of baggage to him. The thing is, there's a lot of different versions of Batman, and I'm always excited to see a new Batman film, but I'm not so excited moving forward into this one because we had so many portrayals, and they all seem to be moving in a very similar direction now. Batman's always going to be this guy with a lot of emotional hang-ups that goes around breaking people's legs. I could be wrong about this, I could be completely wrong, but I would be a lot more excited for this film if I knew there was some indication that maybe this Batman is going to take on a few more kind moments. Because yes, while Batman does strike fear into the criminal underworld, it really puts everything into a much more layered perspective when you remember that he does it because he's essentially a friend of Gotham. He is protecting the people of Gotham City. He does it out of a sense of devotion, out of a sense of kindness. He's a billionaire that looks out not just for himself, not for the 1%, a Batman that doesn't just break people's arms. I would like a Batman that is prepared to show humility when the situation calls for it. I'm going to refer to the Batman the Animated Series episode Baby Doll. It's a story where we've got this former child star that has grown bitter about all of the experiences that she's missed out on in life because of like a defect that means she will still appear as a child even though she's a grown adult. With no kind of future ahead of her, she kidnaps her old TV family, holds them hostage, and Batman has to stop her. How does Batman do this? He doesn't break legs. He doesn't scream, "Where's the trigger?" at her. He pursues her at a safe distance and listens to her. Batman levels with her and explains that he understands her. And when she breaks down and there's nowhere else to go, does Batman cuff her and throw her in the slammer? No. he comforts her. This girl is still effectively an antagonist. She held her previous TV family hostage, attempted to shoot Batman several times, but Batman was gentle and understanding, while he still smartly found a way to kind of corner her to a point where she couldn't really go further. Another great example of this is the Justice League episode, Epilogue. This episode took place mostly in the future, where Bruce Wayne was suffering kidney failure, so Terry McGinnis, the Batman of the future, tests himself to see if he's a compatible donor, and during this, he finds out that he's actually Bruce Wayne's genetic son, which calls his training to be the next Batman into question. Did Bruce really just use his own son just to make another Batman? So Terry McGinnis is pretty torn up about this. The whole experience has kind of soured his opinion of Bruce Wayne. But to reassure him about Bruce, Amanda Waller comes along and tells a story of a situation that Batman solved before Terry was born. So Ace of the Royal Flush Gang, who's kind of known for being able to cause hallucinations, was now able to alter the fabric of reality. Everything was going very, very wrong, and Ace was also on the verge of dying from a brain aneurysm. Which, of course, being as Ace's brain is able to kind of alter reality now, if she were to go into an aneurysm, that could cause some pretty groundbreaking effects. So a special weapon was made to kill Ace and prevent the disaster. Who would step up to the task of killing Ace? Batman. But we all know Batman, and because Ace can read minds, she knows that Batman has no intention of using the weapon on her. Batman sat her down and leveled with her how they both missed out on their childhood. So Batman kindly persuaded her to revert the world back to what it was before, and volunteered to stay by her side as she died of the aneurysm, so that she could die in peace and feeling calm. And he comforted her as she died. Amanda Waller goes on to explain to Terry McGinnis that Batman used his greatest ability here, his compassion, and his absolute refusal ever to take a life no matter the situation. Oopsie! But this act from Batman was enough to turn Amanda Waller from an antagonist to the Justice League to a friend. This for me is one of Batman's absolute defining moments, and there are many more like it. And honestly, it really just goes to show what a versatile character Batman really is, as we had no shortage of these versions of Batman fighting in the shadows, being skilled combatants, instilling fear into the enemies, and stuff like this really just puts all that into much greater perspective. Now, on a normal day, Batman's rogues gallery doesn't have a great deal of sympathetic villains. We've got Mr. Freeze, and really that's about it. And I always really liked the dynamic between Mr. Freeze and Batman in the animated series, because it was clear that Batman had a sense of respect for him, and went out of his way to help him when it really came down to it. He would also offer a little bit more sympathy for Harley Quinn than he would the average Batman villain, going a lot easier on her than he would the Joker. I'm hoping that with Robert Pattinson's Batman, we'll get the chance to have a much more versatile Batman, because I think if we just get another rage machine taking his anger out on the criminal underworld, it's gonna get a little bit samey, you know? Let's challenge that public perception of Batman being vengeance the night by, sure, doing that, but also showing what Amanda Waller calls his greatest ability, and that being his compassion. Because ultimately, to me anyway, I like to think that's what Batman would be like. A guy who could use his traumatic past to more of an advantage than it be just a hang-up. The idea that Batman really did go on to become something greater. I gotta admit, while I do like Batman v Superman, I personally feel kind of over the age of deconstructing the idea of a superhero. It's been fun looking at two different sides of a good character, but at the same time, I don't want to see a Batman constantly falling from grace all the time. I don't want to see him break his golden rule, growing a long-ass depression beard, being a recluse, full of regret all the time. I don't want to keep being told that this figure of perseverance, a guy with no superpowers that still goes out of his way to protect his city, risking life and limb. I don't want to keep being told, oh, maybe that's not such a good thing, you know? And I don't necessarily want him to be doing the Batusi all the time. There's a time and a place for a later Batman, and I'm happy having Adam West be our light knight. I mean, nobody could do that better than Adam West. Although I would say Dedrick Bader's up there. Even so, a Batman that's not necessarily light-hearted, but not totally dark-hearted either. A Batman with a lot of different layers. And I think maybe if we're looking at more of a redemption story for Catwoman, maybe there's a chance that we will see that in the Batman 2021. And I mean, there's a lot of things about Batman 2021 that do look very promising. Robert Pattinson is a casting choice in this role like no other casting choice that we've had before. This is a casting choice where I'm not going to have any idea what to expect going in. So I'm sure there's going to be some surprises in store. And I really like what Matt Reeves did with the Planet of the Apes series as well. So again, again, very promising, and there are some things that we haven't had before, like we've got multiple villains in this film, but it's never been done quite to this scale. And to be honest, I think that's a cool idea, because Batman villains are known to work together a lot of the time. They've got a lot of converging storylines. I can't imagine Batman having a lot of sympathy for Oswald Cobblepot or the Riddler, but if it's early on in his career, there is a chance that Zoë Kravitz's Catwoman could be more the sort of the antagonist sort of a type that Batman will kind of break through. Maybe he'll kind of break down the barriers of that Catwoman and she'll find her better self, more of an anti-hero than a straight-up villain. That's something I really hope to see. But for now, we can only really speculate. But guys, please do comment below what Batman means to you. What kind of Batman you'd really like to see in this film? Heck, maybe what kind of Batman you wouldn't like to see in this film. Are you also feeling a little jaded towards the whole grim dark, he's a fucking angry bastard man? What do you guys think? Comment below and discuss, and as always, if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more like it, why don't you head over to channelpup.net, where we got a blog page called Dr. Blogtopus, but as well as that, you can also buy merch, such as this awful t-shirt. But if you want to be a part of the super fun Kennel Club, why not hit subscribe, hit the like button, and in the description below, you can check out the links to my Patreon and my Twitter. I think that would be pretty sweet for both of us. What do you say, champ? But in all seriousness now, thank you so much for watching, my fellow home dogs. Have a great day, because you and I both know you've earned it. I'll catch you next time.